All right, let's go through the numbers that you've put together again in this salary cap 101 lesson by sport. And let's start with the NFL, which of course all the news is coming up about this. Their 2011 cap, $130 million proposed. Now, one thing to keep in mind with the salary cap is because they were heading towards the end of the CBA last year, there was no salary cap. They played without a cap last year. The cap a year before that was $123 million, and Chris has 130 here, but the one they've been talking about is really $120 million for a true cap, with another $21 million that's going to go to benefits for players, so it won't be money that the team can spend. So explain that a little bit, Chris.
That's basically things like insurance, things like health insurance moving forward, because professional athletes, when they retire, have a very difficult time getting health insurance. They have to pay a lot more than the average person because of all the associated health issues that typically come along with them. It's paying into the retirement fund. It's a lot of the little things that, the typical fan, myself included, sort of take for granted. But, if you're an NFL player, like during the lockout, when the lockout happened and all of a sudden they all received a letter saying they no longer had health insurance for they or their family, that's a big deal to them.
So when we look further at the numbers and we see that there is a $15 million proposed difference in the salary cap between the high teams and the low teams, and you look at the other numbers, meaning the growth, the revenue growth, and also the operating income growth rate, you look at the difference. In the NFL, nobody is higher in their growth rate, projected at 6.6 of the four sports, and nobody is lower than their operating income growth rate at 1.8%. So even though they're in a lockout situation, assuming they can come to an agreement, business-wise, you can make the case that the NFL is in the best situation of any sport, except for the fact that if you're a player, again, you don't have a lot of guarantees and you still have a lot of restrictions, correct?
Yeah, I'd agree with that completely.
So, again, before we move on to the NHL and other sports, when you look at the NFL and you look at these numbers and you look at salary cap 101, when we're hearing the numbers about the salary cap, again, the NFL is in a good business place right now with with the structure that they have. It works almost better than any other sport, doesn't it?
It does. I think what's new to the NFL salary cap, I think, is very important, is the floor. It never really had a floor before. And so having the salary floor of 90% of the proposed cap is really going to force a lot of these teams that never spent before to spend up. So the players are looking at it saying, okay, it's not a gigantic change in the upper end of the salary cap, but all of a sudden, if you include the rookie wage scale and now a floor, the idea is we're all going to make more money.